Are there any questions? Because this is what the weekend is going to be about, what you just watched. So we're going to learn about indicators, we're going to learn about lifespan moisture, and we're going to learn about what you can do to support your health. I know a lot of people think today that they can avoid toxins and they're going to eat right and they're going to be okay, but the news for you is there's no escaping the toxins. I mean, you can get as organic food as possible or as unprocessed food as possible, but the air is there's no such thing as clean or fresh air left on Earth. Chances are the water's contaminated to some degree. Just somewhere along the line, there's no escape from toxins. And so the purpose of this weekend is how you can be best fortified in a world of toxicity. Okay? Now, I want to say too, back then, the producers were having me say certain things and they wanted me to call myself a medical intuitive. Over time, I've started calling myself a biological intuitive. And why I do that is because when you say you're a medical intuitive, it sounds like it's a Paul Bunyan thing. We've got the conventional science as the chainsaw, and I'm going to be Paul Bunyan as the manual guy that's going to come along and do the same job as conventional medicine. So again, it's always about, can John get the right diagnosis? And that's not what I'm necessarily there to do. I understand that that's part of the process, but I think for a lot of people, they think that it implies I'm going to give you medical advice. Whereas a biological intuitive, I'm looking more about your biology, the environment that you're in, not necessarily about the kind of food you eat or whether or not you exercise, but how you position yourself in relationships, the landscape of your life, as opposed to the weather of your life. And so what do I mean by that? So for example, I've worked with vegan yoga teachers in their 30s with cancer. And so when I reach out to the yoga community to explain, the response is, well, they're not doing their yoga right. Because there's a lot of disagreement in the yoga community about which version of yoga is the right one or the correct one. So that's the response from there. So then I know people that meditate a lot that have cancer. And then I ask the meditative community, well, what can you explain that? Well, they're not meditating right. Because there's lots of rules about how to meditate now, the right way and the wrong way. But if you were dehydrated, and I said, well, here, let's drink some water, and you remain dehydrated, I want you to think of the absurdity if I said to you, well, you're not drinking the water right. Okay. So if you're dehydrated and you're drinking water, you're not getting rehydrated, there is something in between the water and your hydration. And that's what this weekend is about, in terms of what might be in the way. So that's another reason why I call myself a biological intuitive, because I just wanted to get away from, I think there's a lot of stigma with medical intuition, and especially when I started reaching out to doctors back in the late 90s, early 2000s, if I didn't see chakras or auras, or if I was given a name, an address, and a state or something, if I couldn't provide information, they didn't want to talk to me at all. I was like, well, there's more than one way to do that. But they're very locked into their idea about what that's like. So as we go through the weekend, I'm going to be presenting, here's what I did with my curiosity of my senses as an example of what you might discover with the curiosity of your senses. Okay? So I'm not here for you to mimic the way that I do this. I want to present this information in a way that's accurate for you. But as I'm presenting information, if you find a way that you see it that isn't exactly the way that I see it, that's okay. What's important is that we have agreement about what we're honing in on, which organ or whatever. But I certainly want to put that out to you. I think you're going to find there's not going to be too many rules this weekend. But at the same time, I want to empower you in case you've had some perceptions throughout your life, or maybe when you were younger that you didn't think mattered. Maybe as a result of this weekend, you realize that they do matter.